2. There's already no you.
Alreadynot2.com.
What is shared here today would be fully heard. It would become very obvious, not for someone, that this is it. Those are words or keep returning, so to speak. But it's that easy. What we're talking, it's easy, baby. What we're talking about today is, it's utterly simple. What is shared here today is that this is it exactly as it is. This is totality, or this is oneness, whatever label you want to use for it. But this is exactly as it is. There is nothing else. So what is being pointed at today is that this totality, freedom, whatever you want to call it, I like the word freedom, that there is nothing else besides it. So it's impossible to miss it. It's like the bathroom. You go out this door, immediately you see the bathroom. It's the same with oneness. If you like the word oneness. It's just a label. It has no meaning, nor a purpose. But this is it. So it's a pointing today and tomorrow to all there is. And it's also an exposing of the seeking, how useless seeking really is. Seeking for wholeness is utterly and wonderful futile. Because there's nothing lost, there is nothing to find. Because what is longed for is already here, by lack of a better word, one could say. There's nothing else. It's already happening, apparently. What seems to happen, this room, for example, sitting here on a seat, is happening. Breathing, hopefully, is happening. Feelings that may or may not arise in a so-called body is already happening. Thinking or thoughts are already happening. It's that simple. So wherever you will apparently go is already oneness. There's nothing else. So whatever is seen, heard, felt, and so on and so forth is what's longed for. There's nothing else. It's that simple. So it's nothing hidden, it's nothing magical, it's nothing mysterious. It's just this. That is what we are talking about. That's the mystery that cannot be known. There's no one that can know what this really is. And as long as one knows what this is, paradoxically, the mystery stays hidden. So we can talk about that with my wonderful friend next to me. So that's good, I can just listen and you can do the talking. It's a perfect role play. And if you have some questions, we're gladly to answer your questions. Though there is no answer that will set you free. Maybe I can add that. Because the biggest dilemma for the seeker, the person, the individual, whatever you want to call it, is it lives in the world of knowing, owning, and understanding. And from the point of view, from the illusory individual, it looks like there might be a shift in understanding, and then suddenly I will be free because of my understanding what is being talked about. And I can tell you that that is never ever going to happen. Maybe later there will be some words about so-called liberation, which doesn't happen, nor does it happen to anyone, because there is already no one. And yet, it's can be liberating for a human being, but it has nothing to do in any way with a shift in understanding. So if you are understanding some words that are being shared or suggested here, this afternoon or tomorrow. It has no meaning nor a purpose. It has nothing to do with the wording. So the sharing, one could say, is completely energetic. Beyond these words, there's something else far more powerful going on in this room, beyond the words that are being spoken of. So understanding, though that attempt may be there, because it seems to be naturally apparently happening like that the so-called individual is trying to understand this message, so it's a different language, this message. I've lost what I was going to say anyway, but it doesn't matter. But I guess that's it for now. Would like to add something? In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
No, I think that's fine.
Yeah? You can just put it. You're blessed. Isn't that wonderful? It's too close. Oh, you just missed the guided meditation before we started. That was it. To bear it. Well, maybe I would like to add, if you would like one of us to answer a question, maybe you can just ask the name. If not, then we will just see how it naturally goes.
Sure.
Both are possible.
Okay, I ask you
Okay.
because
Why?
I refer to your intro.
Lovely.
You have mentioned different functions like breathing, feelings, thinking, but in this it's rare that we hear also what another function like wanting.
Yeah.
Is this something? Is this a form of meaning? Is this not a natural function, or why this is wanting? Yeah.
Well, it's not. There's no why to it, because this what we're talking about doesn't need a why. It's already everything, so there's no why needed, nor is there a why. Yet, within the dream of me, or at least what I call the dream of me, there seems to be a lack always. So seeking comes out of that lack. There seems to be something missing, and it's something that does not happen by you, because there is already no you. It may look differently, but that's the whole illusion, that there is a you who can do something, but that's not the case. So this meeting, if you like, is an exposure of that myth that there is a you who can do something. No, seeking is what is apparently happening, but it doesn't happen by something or by someone. Though within the dream of me, the individual, there seems to be a lack, and it's constantly seeking for a better experience. So it wants to feel better. In a way, one could say is that there's nothing wrong with that, but when there is the sense of being someone, it's the resistance to what's arising. Because when there's, for example, an emotion like anger is arising, then there's a big chance that there is a resistance to anger, for example. So, and the idea that there's something wrong with anger, I need to escape and I need to search for something in order for me to feel better. And that whole dynamic is what keeps the suffering going. Because there is no problem in any way with anger or with sadness, because for the individual it looks like that there is a problem. The suffering for the individual is it suffers from their emotions, for example. So it's suffering. It believes it suffers from anger, but it's not the case. It suffers from the resistance to that, because anger is naturally arising, and it seeks I will subtitle it, yeah. So it's that seeking in order for me to feel better, and not, because it cannot accept, there's no one to accept, of course, but there's something wrong with that anger. And that whole thing keeps the struggle going and keeps the seeking going. That's the one thing, because the only thing that the individual wants is to feel good. That's the only thing it wants. Yeah. Even when we're talking about so-called liberation, the me will never ever be liberated. There is no one to be liberated. So it will never ever happen to you. But that is what it really would like. Because I love the word freedom. All there is freedom. Because the me wants freedom on its own terms. And that will never happen.
And to have a strong wish, when you want something, is this also a natural happening? Or
Yeah, everything. So everything, without any exception, is already apparently happening.
And in spirituality, there is always the belief that this is something bad. When you have when you want something strongly, then it's the me.
Yeah, yeah, and it's the biggest
misunderstanding.
It's the biggest scam out there. It's the biggest scam out there, because they can never ever deliver what they are promising. Of course.
Yeah, well, basically there's nothing wrong with anything. That's what we're saying here, is that there's just what's happening. There's nothing wrong with anything. So really, what we're really saying is there is no one already. There is no one there. There is no one here. There's no one in the room. There's no one in the body. There's just no one. And there's just what apparently happens. That's it. It's very simple in that way. So there is nothing wrong with anything. Even if it feels wrong or seems wrong, that's just what's happening. So if wanting is what seems to be happening, then that's what's happening. It's perfect. That's wholeness appearing as that. It can't be or doesn't have to be any other way. So even all the, I know exactly what you mean with the spiritual stuff. It's sort of about trying to get rid of your desires and not want anything. But really what they're trying to actually do in that is trying to get rid of themselves, because there seems to be a sense of me that's wanting and desiring freedom, really, and they're kind of getting it the wrong way round, because they're thinking that by eliminating all of that stuff, the wanter will die. But the problem is that there's a wanter. It's not the wanting. So, well, of course, there's not actually a real problem, because what we're saying here is we're exposing the illusion of there being an actual real wanter, a real seeker, is another word, in the first place. So there's nothing wrong with seeking. Seeking is what apparently happens, but we're illuminating the illusion of there being a real seeker who's doing that, separate from the whole. And that can energetically be recognised. And then the seeking just seems to slow down or die on its own, when the illusion of there being a seeker is no more. So the individual can try all it likes to try and stop the seeking, but as long as you feel like an individual, there will always be an active seeking energy apparently happening, which is whole and complete. It's perfect. It's not wrong at all.
And the difference, if you like, is all those teachings are really helping you to stay imprisoned. Because they're feeding that dreamt reality. They're starting from the point that there is a you who can do something to get somewhere, which doesn't exist. And by doing so, by feeding that dreamt reality, just that whole illusory sense of being someone is constantly being reinforced. And it just keeps the seeking going. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that's why this setting, or this meeting if you like, or whatever you want to call it, there is no feeding here in any way of not even a recognition that there is a you. So there is nothing on offer. And that's the difference between this or every teaching. Yeah.
Can you say something about how love between two people arises?
Can I say?
Yeah, how love between two people seems to arise, where that comes from.
From out of space.
Okay.
There's no reason.
Go there and look.
There's no reason for it. There is no reason for anything. I think it's one of part of the awfulness of this message is that whatever that's arising, whatever that might be, has no reason in any way. Because the me lives in the world where there are things are meaningful and they are having a purpose, even maybe a higher purpose. But it's a dreamt reality. So love, at least what we call love, is even depending a bit on how you see that. Because most individuals have no idea what love is. Because as far when it comes down to the word love, for most individuals, love is really based upon a need. It's a needy thing. I need you, there's something missing. I need you to complete me. And when you complete me, I love you. You cannot love somebody else, or you cannot go somewhere else. No, because I need you in order for me to feel good. That is what the individual mostly labels as love. It's not what I would call love. There is something which is impossible to know, which between two human beings can be very intensely beautiful. What I call love, but then that's a feeling or a sensation that just is naturally arising for no reason. Yeah. And that doesn't depend on any story. Because it looks like in the individual world that everything is based upon love depends on a story. No, within the natural reality, to call it like that, just love is naturally arising, as just everything is naturally arising. Yeah. But beyond the story.
Yeah, so what about the difference?
Mike, please. Danke.
What about the sort of difference between this needy love and unconditional love between two people?
Well, the me will never know what it means, unconditional love. It's impossible. It's by nature very conditioned, one could say, within the dream of me. Because the individual, there is no real individual, it's a long story short. It's just the need that something needs to happen. And it's always about me. Something needs to happen in order for me to feel good. And unconditional love is literally unconditional. But unconditional love means murder is unconditional love. And that's a tough pill to swallow for the individual. Yeah. Because unconditional means no conditions in any way. And when the dreamt reality isn't there anymore, there seems to be love arising that doesn't depend on anything anymore. It doesn't depend on what one is doing or what story. No, there's just love apparently happening. Of course. So you can just take it.
That's okay. Yeah, well, really, what we're talking about actually is a complete and utter lose-lose situation in that sense for the individual. Because either you feel like an individual and what the individual is really looking for is unconditional love, which isn't to do with me and you or you and them or him and her. It's just unconditional love is the absence of anyone in it. It's the absence of anyone. So either you feel like an individual and you feel that there's me here and you there and everyone else in the room, or there doesn't seem to be an individual happening and there's just what's happening, which is what we call unconditional love, but it's not in this way the person necessarily projects onto it or thinks of it as. It's not good or bad. When we say unconditional love, we just mean it's whole and complete. It's just complete. And that's not an experience of love. So, but this is what's completely indescribable for how these things seem to appear without there being anybody in it. So really, there's no such thing as unconditional love for a person, because as long as there's a person, there's conditions. So it's a lose-lose. You feel like someone, and there's a longing for unconditional love and wanting. You can never be an individual and have unconditional love, basically. Exactly. Unconditional love is the end of the individual. So you will never have it, but it may be recognised that it's all there is. But it's not for you, it's not for me, it's not between two people even, because there is no one.
But if you have the sense of being an individual, can't you still experience unconditional love, say, from your mother?
No.
Well, there may be an apparent claim of an experience of what you feel to be unconditional love. And yes, actually, though, to be fair, because Tony often says, or one of them, whatever, says the closest the individual really gets to this, the absence of there being anyone, is kind of falling in love. Because in falling in love, there is this sort of, like, this complete openness and this unknown and this sort of falling kind of, this free fall kind of energy to it. So this is almost the most similar thing that the individual gets. You've distracted me now, I've lost my train of thought. Yeah. What was your question, sorry?
Yeah, I think you probably answered it.
Right.
Whether the individual can experience unconditional love from another person and give unconditional love to someone else who doesn't fulfill them personally.
Well, this is why the person then seems to chase these things. Really, when you feel like an individual, you're chasing this free fall kind of what feels like an experience. So it might be through like when you fall in love, there's this initial kind of thing for the individual, and then it seems to go quite stale often, and there's a deadness, it seems. And that's how most people just seem to live their lives then, in relationship. But really what we're talking about is just an unconditional openness. But that's not an experience for anyone. It's the absence of experience. So, yeah, that you can't be loved and no one can give love, because there is no one. There's just love. Yeah. Which is this. This is like, I think, this is not theoretical. What we're talking about is this. This is unconditional love. Sitting in a room. Like, no one needs to look for it. No one can look for it. Because there is no one. There's just this. We're not talking about some sort of distant or mystical thing that only someone can give you. This is unconditional love. Sitting in a room, there is no one in this room. There is just wholeness or unconditional love. Yeah.
Okay. And the problem mostly for the individual is it always has an idea what unconditional love is. But that means when I have an idea what unconditional love is, it's already limited. because it's an idea. So it's restricted. So it's always, when they're talking about unconditional love, when they're talking about absolute freedom, it has an idea what good, I need to subtitle, how absolute freedom looks like. So absolute freedom, okay, I want it, but I want it on my terms. Unconditional love, it's the same. I have an idea what unconditional love is, but it must be on my terms. So love between two persons may naturally arise, but then there's putting conditions to it. And by putting conditions to it, which is naturally happening, it just kills that whole vibe. It seems like that. Don't shoot the messenger.
But really, what we're talking about is a complete paradox, because there is no such thing as unconditional love, really. Or it's another way to say all there is unconditional love. It's exactly the same thing. All there is nothing being everything, which is this. Sitting in a room is appearing to happen, is nothing being this. Is unconditional love appearing as this. Like, unconditional love is not something that can be bound or found or given or taken or received. It's everything. It's this. It's appearing as a room. This is unconditional love. So it's freedom because it's everything. It's not restricted to one person or one object or myself, or it's complete and utter radical freedom, what we talk about, because it just blows up all those things of an individual needing to be loved or needing to love. It's just unconditional love is everything, without being anything at all.
I think with the love, that's a complicated subject for the person, because everyone thinks you have some experience about it. We think we know what love is, and then when you say an unconditioned, then we think, without a personal goal or so, then it's unconditioned, so I can take it. But how you say, it's not like this. It cannot be experienced for the person. Mm-hmm. It's so for the person. So how you say it? It's an abstract thing.
Well,
everything. What's that? I have no idea.
Exactly, and no one does.
Yeah.
What we're saying is that this is unconditional love. This is unconditional love. And the same thing is saying that no one knows what this is. Directly, sitting in a room in Berlin, apparently happening, right now, so to speak, this boundless aliveness that's apparently happening now, no one knows what this is. And this is unconditional love. No one knows what this is, and no one will ever know. But when it seems to feel as if there's someone sat here, the person is trying to know this, or feels it does know this, and is constantly trying to it's actually what's longed for is to not know. What's longed for is the unknown. But that's not something anyone can do, because the ultimate unknown is the death of the individual. Because there can seem to be an individual that's trying to know, and then the individual will try and not know, but that's still an individual. It's still knowing. What we're talking about is unknown that's not in an opposite to the known. It's not the opposite of knowing. It's just unknowing for no one.
As also for you, there is no unknowing about what.
No, exactly. Exactly.
His love is.
Yeah.
But you speak about it.
Well, I don't. It apparently happens.
Apparently.
But this, you're quite right, because this is what then seems to occur with the individual, because the individual can only think that there is someone here who then doesn't know what unconditional love is, or is living in some sort of unknowing, or there's something here walking around that doesn't know what any of this is, so that I don't know what life is. But what we're talking about is there is no I that can know or not know. So there's no one that's walking around knowing this, but there's also no one that's walking around sort of in some sort of like, really mystified state of like, what is going on here? No, there's just an apparently normal life happening, but for no one in it, with no one in it.
And what we call love, which is unknowable as well, there can be love between two human beings, when you talk about love. But it's just love doesn't depend on anything. Because it looks like when there's this sense of being an individual, it always is conditional, and it's because of. If you ask someone why they love another, they can tell you a story. I love my partner because of this, and a whole bunch of things. And just, there can be love between human beings, but it's just naturally arising. For no reason, and not because of. It's just what's apparently happening. Can be beautiful though, but... At least one will awaken in this meeting.
Basically what we're talking about is completely energetic, you could say. So as long as it feels as if there's a separate individual sat on the chair, it will always seem to feel as if something's missing, you could say, energetically, that something's been lost, that something's been... Well, it's energetic, but been taken away from you in a way, that something's gone missing. And simply what we're suggesting is that nothing is missing. Sitting in a room is what's appearing to happen, and nothing is missing. That's all this is really saying. But as long as it seems to feel as if there's a real individual sat on the chair, there always seems to be a sense of something being lost. Because as long as I feel that I have a life, then I'm separate from wholeness. That's how it seems to feel. So your life is actually appearing, it seems, at the cost of wholeness, you could say. So obviously that's never actually happening at all. But this is just by it's amazing really, just energetically, by feeling that I am sat here, everything has been lost. And then the seeking seems to start. And this is just totally energetic. Looking for, well really you're looking for wholeness. It just, sitting in a room, something is missing. It's not quite enough. It's not quite complete. There's something not quite right energetically. Like, it's nothing to do with like conceptually it's not right. It's energetically. There's something missing about this. This sitting in the room is not full. It's not complete. That's all we're talking about. It's like an energetic reality. This isn't a concept. And so unconsciously or subconsciously, the person then seems to go looking for what it thinks has been lost. So it will do that through looking for relationships, interpersonal relationships, love, I don't know, drugs, sex, job, money, all these classic things that it goes looking for wholeness through. But it's never ever going to find wholeness, because wholeness never went away. The seeking is based on an illusion that this is missing something. Nothing's missing. It's this. This is full. There's nothing lost. Nothing's missing.
And that there will be something. Oh yeah, thanks. And that there will be something eventually that will complete you. It will never ever happen.
So the me is somehow right when it thinks it's out of itself. This happening is separate from me. It's something out there. I'm here.
Thanks.
But yeah.
You think it's right?
Also, in the view of the me, it cannot be otherwise.
Exactly. Yeah. In that way, what me's doing makes sense only to itself. And it only makes sense to an illusion that doesn't exist. So how far that actually makes sense is obviously questionable. But in the whole energetic reality of the individual, it's basically how separation seems to function energetically. If you feel that you are real, wholeness has been lost. Because as long as I'm sat here, life is out there. I'm in here, life is out there. And it's energetically incredibly dissatisfying somehow. Because all there is wholeness. And what's longed for is wholeness. And actually what is appearing as separation is wholeness. So wholeness is all there is. So really, it's not you longing. It's actually wholeness longing to come home to itself. So as long as wholeness seems to be appearing as a separate individual there, it will always feel dissatisfying. And go on, sorry.
So it's wholeness that won't be recognized. It's that wants to be recognized.
You could say so, yeah, in a way, yeah. Nothing wants to be recognized because there's not an actual conscious reality. That this room is not aware of itself. Nothing here is aware. No one is aware that this conversation is happening because there is no one. So there's nothing that actually we can say wants or has some sort of agency or will that knows anything. But you could say as a story that it's a bit of a romantic story of saying, wholeness appears separate. But it's a game wholeness seems to play for no reason at all. All there is wholeness, and for some reason it then seems to appear as a separate reality that then goes looking for itself to only recognise it never lost itself. It's completely and utterly pointless. It's not being done by anyone, and it has no meaning or purpose whatsoever, not even to rediscover itself. It's because some sort of spiritual things start to go into the, oneness separates from itself so that it can rediscover itself. And it's sort of quite a romantic, in a way it's actually not wrong, but it's just kind of implying there's some sort of meaning to why that happens, when what we're saying is that it actually doesn't even happen at all. It's just an appearance of energy and a function of energy.
And because it's only an appearance, it's also the separation is whole. Or
Exactly.
wholeness.
Exactly. There's no such thing as real separation. But if there seems to be something that claims I am an individual, that's just wholeness appearing as that. Whole energy, all there is boundlessness or wholeness. And that energy, that boundless energy, can appear as a contraction in the body. That's all this seems to be. And that is just boundlessness appearing as a contraction. It's never actually contracted, but it can appear that way. And then it can also appear to redissolve back into boundlessness. But nothing ever actually happens because it never actually contracted in the first place. It was just a play of light, if you like. It was an appearance of energy. So when the sense of being someone dies, it's very clear that nothing ever happened. There never was anyone, and all there ever was boundless energy. And any sense of being a real individual was a complete and utter dream for no one that never happened.
Also not for the me.
There is no me.
Also for the experience, the me experience. There's also never see its end or this.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, because something that doesn't exist cannot end. There is no one.
It didn't start.
But when you feel like an individual, you feel that you have a life, that one day you will die. And what we're saying here is there is no one. No one was born, so no one will die. There is no one. And the apparent death we talk about is simply the recognition that there is no one who can or will die. And that's the end of everything then.
And yeah. Never born, never die, never.
Yeah, exactly. No one was born, no one will die. This is where all these things, these spiritual things seem to come out of.
Yeah.
But they're then turned into something that you can be aware of.
Oh, okay.
But who could be aware of that? I mean, like in these meetings, we're saying it in a very simple, energetic, literal way. There is no one. There is no one. So how can anyone be aware that there is no one if there is no one?
So it's the first thing you say, or the only thing.
Yeah, really.
Again,
And
there's
even
no
that's
one.
too much. Because who are we talking to? There's no one here, and there's no one there listening or responding. Just there's listening and responding apparently happening. So even saying there's no one is saying too much. There really is no message, actually. But it seems to happen, it seems to be shared. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose for me, if you had to boil this down into, if we were to talk about an apparent message, very simply, it seems to just be that there's just what appears to happen and there's no one in it. That's what we seem to talk about here. And then all the questions seem to come out of that, which is fine. That's just what then happened. But even that completely contradicts the individual's reality already. Just simply saying there is no one and there's just what apparently happens. Well, I mean, think about how many retreats and meetings and Zoom meetings come out of this simple, natural reality. Because when you feel like an individual, that blows up your whole world. Because I feel like someone and this is real. And that's my whole struggle. So yeah, that's the whole conversation then, apparently. Yeah.
So whatever seems to happen, there is nothing that will bring you closer to anything. Or you get further away from it, because the very seeking is already this. So that's why seeking is already futile in itself. There are no steps to it.
For me, it's like standing in front of a door and it seems to be closed, and I don't have the right tool to open it. And It's like all my life I try to open it and the key doesn't fit and I don't have any other thing to open it. Maybe sometimes I feel it's not closed even, the door, it's just open. But it's only in a few moments I can see that. And all the other time I'm standing in front of this door, and it's closed.
Do you want me to? Well, yeah, well, how do I say this? I mean, well, the only compassion really there is to say is that there is no key. You will never, ever, ever find this, ever, because it doesn't exist. And that's freedom. That's what we talk about here. That's freedom.
The door doesn't need to go open as well. Because that's the need that this is not it. Oh, sorry. There seems to be a need that this is not it as it is. So it will be better when that door will be open. So there's a need that something needs to happen in order for me to feel better, or whatever thought that's arising. But there is no need for that door to be open. A closed door will be wholeness appearing as a closed door. And it's that need that keeps the seeking going. That this is not it as it is. I'm standing in front of a closed door, and there needs to be a way that it needs to be different, that that door goes open. And there isn't.
Yeah, well, it perfectly really describes the separate dynamic. That's really is energetically how it feels to be an individual. And like, in many ways, a lot of people would say that that's actually quite, like in sort of spiritual circles, that would be a sort of valuable insight, so to speak, to have that. But here it's not valuable at all, because basically what seems to happen with these meetings, the people that seem to be attracted to these meetings, is everyone has arrived at the closed door in a way. And as long as you feel like an individual, everyone is here trying to get it open. Maybe if I do this, maybe if I listen, maybe if I... And it you know, maybe in the start of your life it's sort of more like material things or more just, you know, and then it seems to become more and more refined perhaps as the path progresses, like if I become more aware, or if I just sit more still, or if I listen to the silence, or if I read or whatever, it just becomes more and more nuanced and fine. But at the end of the day, what we're really, really saying is nothing will ever work. It will never work, and there will never be an experience of getting through the door, because there is no door. It doesn't exist. It's an illusion. It's an energetic illusion that I am sat here behind this and I can't get to freedom on the other side. It's an illusion, which is the only compassion there is. Because if someone is, of course that's just what happens then, but if there was sitting here and saying, this is how you can get to the other side, it perpetuates the illusion that you are trapped and you can be free. This doesn't see anyone there, full stop, but who is trapped. There's no one trapped in anything. There's just what happens. So there'll never be the experience of getting to the other side, because freedom is all there is. This is unconditional freedom without sides. There's no in and out. There's no behind the door, through the door. There's no door. It's boundlessness. It's just this. But I know as an individual it can really, really feel in a lived sense that I am not there yet. That I need to find something to get me there, where they are. But there is no one, and there is no there. There's just what apparently happens. And that's what's actually longed for. So saying there's no door is both, well, it's freedom, but it's also the destruction of hope that one day I will get through the door. Because the individual lives in the loop of hope that, oh, maybe if I do this, or maybe this new speaker will get me through. It's constantly hope. Maybe if I watch this video, maybe if I do this practice, or listen to this person, or eat this, or wear that, I'll get through the door. And that's the hope that the individual feeds off. And as far as this is concerned, any sort of teaching just feeds that hope, which is also just what's happening. It's not wrong, because there's no one who's choosing to do that. But this compassion just kills hope. This message is hopeless, completely hopeless, unconditional hopelessness. And that's what's longed for, because that's also the freedom of not needing to get through a door, as Nico said. Because when it's recognized there is no door, there's no need to get through anything, because there is no other side to this. There's just what happens.
And for some beings, that might be hurt. For some, that might be hurt. And when that is fully hurt, that's what we label as liberation, for example, without the need that needs to happen. Because there's no one already to be liberated. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is how the alignment looks like. Sorry.
It's all right, Nico. Like it's just like every answer is the same, just with different words. Mm-hmm. Really, it's the same.
And not even the same.
Yeah.
There's not even sameness.
Yeah. It's just It's just illuminating continually. Illumination.
Yeah, just whatever arises is already it as it is.
Yeah.
The wanting to go through the door, for example, is already wholeness appearing as that.
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
Yeah, basically every response energetically, which isn't even a response, just comes back to, like I think I heard Andreas say this once, like, no, every response, like I think he said it's like a natural netty in that way, because every response is, no, this is it, there is no one. Basically, even if the words aren't directly saying that at the time, energetically it's just throwing it back in your face. That's just what's happening there. There's no one. And that's why it's so problematic then, because what can you do with that?
On every questions, even though there's different words, really, it's the same question continually.
Yeah.
How can I get there?
I'm in here. There's something here trapped.
Yeah.
I want out. I want to get somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm missing something. This isn't it. Just with all different words. The questions are all the same. The answers are all the same.
Yeah.
It's funny, actually.
Well, the question is really energetically always, this isn't it.
Yeah.
What is it? And the
how do I
answer
get
is, and the answer is, this is it. There is no one.
Yeah.
But that's completely energetic. Like, that's why, like Nico said at the start, like, it's not about the words. This isn't feeding that energy that's trying to work it out. And then it can just seem to, well, starve off or completely collapse, maybe. Because it's not going to get anything out of this, not even this meeting though. This meeting is just like a direct illumination of life itself. Nothing to get out of life. That's cheery. That's cheery.
It is.
Do you want to have a break? In a bit? 10 minutes?
That's why what we're sharing here today is so unattractive for most human beings. Because there is nothing, literally nothing, that you will get out of this. And paradoxically, by illuminating that, it's the only compassion there is. There is no other compassion. All the rest is conspiracy, or what I would like to call conspiracy. Because it's just feeding that dreamt reality that there is a you who can get somewhere, and that you will arrive somewhere where you can be free from suffering and free from pain. Because that's all the individual longs for. That it can arrive somewhere, I will no longer suffer, I will no longer have any pain, and it's only and it is never ever going to happen. Because by looking back, by what we call life, there will always apparently be anger, sadness, happiness, whatever, already, and the suffering is the resistance to that. It would be far more interesting if you would add 10 steps to this, to their what is already everything. Okay, sorry. Please forgive me. I don't know what I do.
I like it how it is.
It'll get you nowhere. No.
On your shoulder. So the feeling of the me to be more than just life is only this restriction from this negotiation of life.
It's a denial, really.
It's denial of life.
It's a denial that this isn't it.
Denial.
That there is something better than this, and there isn't. Or that there is something hidden that I can go to, or whatsoever. And it just isn't there. This is it as it is. But it's always it's constantly overlooked. Because every appearance of a human being is already wholeness appearing as a human being. So wherever that human being apparently goes, all you see, not you, but by a lack of, or for the sake of words, all that is seen, all that is felt, all that is heard is already this as well. There's nothing else. So you will never ever arrive somewhere because this is already it as it is. But it's not special enough for most individuals. There has to be something more special. Please.
have a break.
Next time, taking a break. I got a bell. So 30 minutes break. I'm in charge of the break.
Yeah, well, this is it. So there's nothing else. This is all there is. Sitting on a chair in a room is what appears to be happening. It's not actually happening. There's nothing real about this. This is not actually happening. It's not real, but it's also not unreal. It's just what seems to be going on is sitting in a room in Berlin is apparently happening. So that's the message, so to speak. That's what we seem to talk about when we talk in this way or about this or whatever, is that there's just what appears to be happening. This is the natural reality, you could say, that there's no one in it. There is no one in this room right now. There is no one. There's just sitting on a chair, appearing to happen, and there's no one in the room, and this is not actually happening. But this is not some mystical or deep or spiritual or magical thing. It's actually how things naturally are already in this room. There's just what appears to be happening. There's just boundless energy for no one. There's no centre in the body to which anything is actually happening. There's just what seems to be happening. So, yeah, there's nothing to say because nothing's ever going to change to make this become that, because this already is that. There's nothing deeper than this. There's nothing underneath this, or behind this, or before this, or after this. This apparent happening is completely and utterly timeless and spaceless. It's just boundless energy, boundless aliveness, appearing as this. It's appearing as this. It's not hidden. What you're looking for is not hiding. It's literally this. Sitting in a room, a body apparently happening, looking around, thoughts, sensations, feelings, doubts, insecurities, anxieties, whatever, is this. There's just no one in it. There is no such thing as a real individual. But what seems to arise is the sense that I am a real individual, that I have come to the meeting, that I am thinking, I am sitting, I am listening, I am looking, that there is an individual in here to whom everything is happening or coming from, which is basically self-consciousness. That is the dynamic of self-consciousness, is there's what's happening and it's happening to me. There's a two-way energetic dynamic going on. And all that we're exposing here, really, because it is an exposure, it's nothing new, it's just an illumination of what's already the case, is that there is no such thing as this self-consciousness, this dual energetic dynamic. There is just what's appearing to happen. And there's just what seems to be happening, boundless energy, and there's nothing that it reflects back on, no one to whom it reflects back onto, or from which anything comes. So there's no source to this. This is uncreated. It's not actually coming into creation. There is no creator. Boundlessness itself is not a creator, it's not an authority, it's not a source. This is boundlessness, but it's not running the show, it's not a conscious being, it's not aware of itself. This room is what's appearing to happen, but it has no idea that it's appearing as this. And a conversation in Berlin doesn't know that it's a conversation in Berlin. It's just what seems to be going on. So there's no, as I say, there's no creator, there's no source, there's no authority, there's no gods, there's no higher power, there's no hell, there's no heaven, there's no future, there's no past, there's no birth, no death. There is just the direct, alive immediacy of what seems to be happening. It's just this, and it's always this, and it only ever was this. So what we talk about here really is a death simply of the illusion that I am alive. It's not a real death, but it's the end of an illusion that I have a life and that I will die. You will never die. This me will never die. But it may be recognized that there is not a me to die. That there just is no one already. But this is not an intellectual recognition that you are going to have. It's an energetic explosion, apparent explosion of energy, seemingly, that never actually happens and simply reveals that it never actually happens and that nothing ever actually happens. So this collapse into boundlessness is simply a recognition for no one that boundlessness is all there is. And all there ever was boundlessness, which is this. This cannot be anything other than boundless energy. This is it. This is it. The bodies in this room are boundlessness. The thoughts are boundlessness. The feelings are boundlessness. This is boundless energy. That's all that can be said. There's not a teaching, it's not a process, it's not a path. It's simply an illumination of how things naturally are. It's just this. So all questions seem to simply arise out of the sense that it's not this. Where is this boundlessness I'm looking for? How do I get to it? This is it. So there's nothing wrong with questions, but they're never going to get anyone anywhere because questions are boundlessness appearing as a question. Yeah. So there is nothing to say, there is no message. We're not trying to tell anyone anything at these meetings. Nothing is being said, nothing is actually being illuminated. No one is hearing these words. But there may just somehow be an energetic resonance in the system for no reason at all. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to happen, and it won't happen to anyone. But that's what we just seem to share together. And really it's just an open discussion between friends, if you like, about nothing. And it's not getting anywhere. It's just an open chat with no direction, no purpose, no meaning, no time, no cause, no goal. It's just this. And it's unconditional freedom beyond imagination and concepts and stories. It's just this.
Yeah, just it just seems, you know, when we talk together, and it just seems somehow when you mention this sense of this not having a source, that it's not coming from anywhere or going, like that really seems to be that sense of something energetically there seems to obscure that it's just this. That it's something, that there's something I'm not seeing. It sort of is when you say that it's not like it hasn't got a source and it's not coming, is it sort of illuminating the immediacy of it.
Yeah.
Like it sort of, when you say it's this, it's like, oh, this, what, like it's sort of looking for this then, but it's actually
It's
trying to
actually
illuminate
this.
the direct
Yeah.
immediacy, the impersonal nature of it as well. Like it's not coming from anywhere, it's not, no one's driving it, it's not, there's no control over it, it's just, yeah.
Well, it's not actually. It's not trying to illuminate anything, obviously.
Yeah.
But it can seem to, for that which feels, because really we can pick all the words, but at the end of the day, when you feel like an individual, you feel that there's an authority, you feel that there's a source, you feel that there's a you feel that there is a you, that there is a me, you feel that there's a past, a future, a birth, a death. And the list can go on and on and on and on. But really, all of that is coming back to the same energy that you feel that you have a life. There is no authority. There is no past. There is no future. There is no source. There is no time. There is no me. There is no you. But I create this whole reality. When I feel that I have a life, there's an authority, there's a source, there's a goal. But it's all coming back to the same thing, which is me. Me is the only illusion. And me is the only thing that seems to obscure this immediacy from being seen. Like in a way, there is no source to this. But in a way, when you feel like an individual, you feel yourself to be the source. Which is why when we're saying there's no source, it can be very confronting or direct, because it's the same thing as saying there's no you. When you feel like an individual, you feel that you are the creator of reality. That I am God, basically.
Yes.
And then some spiritual things will try and teach you how you can actually recognize that I am God. But that's actually just like getting to the heart of the illusion. There is no God, which is the same as saying there is no you.
Yeah, it seems somehow when you say there is no source or something, it seems to cut you adrift or something somehow.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like, yeah, it seems to cut off some.
Well, because when you feel like an individual, there's sort of this this safety, but also this trappedness in the source or the authority. For the individual finds safety in authority, but the same authority it feels there is and that it finds safety in, it also longs to be free from. Which is why it's such this push-pull thing, because the authority is what keeps you safe, but also what makes you trapped.
Yeah.
So when it's revealed there's no authority, it's like, well, Jesus Christ, like, what do I do then?
Yeah.
Who do I follow? What do I say? Da-da-da-da-da. I mean, that was terrifying for me. There is no reason why that is appearing. If that's really heard, it can be very confronting, because the individual sort of has this story and this energetic sense that this is, you know, somehow life is kind of just, there's a safety to it. Life is pretty normal. There's nothing normal in a way about this, and yet it's totally and utterly normal.
Yeah, I go to.
You said here's no one in this room, right? I see here 10 people. What is your perception when you say there's no one? You just see you see only bodies, or what do you see? You see no persons, or what is your kind of perception of the setting here? Or
Well, the apparent perception is simply what appears to be happening. It's just not for anyone. The body seems to function just as that body seems to function over there, with an apparent perception of 10 bodies. There just seems to be an illusion, apparently, as you said, that I see 10 bodies. Whereas here, there's no sense of I seeing 10 bodies. There's just seeing 10 bodies. So it's exactly the same, which is why, again, it's a paradox.
yeah, but what is the difference then?
There is no difference. And yet it's entirely different. It's a paradox. The whole thing's a paradox.
It's
When
difficult to understand for me.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible.
Okay.
When the sense of being someone dies,
Yeah.
nothing changes because there never was anyone. And yet at the same time, everything changes. And that's just indescribable boundlessness. This is a paradox. What happens is a paradox. This is nothing, appearing as everything. I mean, how could that be understood? It
Yeah, well,
literally
what
doesn't
means-
make sense.
Yeah, what means this is nothing. What that the things do not exist. There are no things. Oh,
Well, it doesn't mean anything. Nothing exists. I mean, I don't like this personally. I don't like this word exists because I think it's very
yeah.
misleading. Because to say something exists or doesn't exist, existence is just this. Existence doesn't come into this. It's not about this existing or not existing. Because if we say this exists, it means it's real, and if we say this doesn't exist, it means it's not real. But what we're actually saying is it's real and it's unreal. So if you want to use that word, you could say this exists and it doesn't exist.
But who is saying this?
No one. You can't win.
But what you said there, that can't be intellectually understood.
No.
Like when you say it can't be understood, you mean literally.
Literally.
Paradox. Nobody understands.
No. Because it's duality. The mind cannot understand a paradox. The mind works in duality. Even just on a logical level, how would it even make sense that nothing is everything? It doesn't make sense. And what we talk about here is the end of things making sense. This doesn't make sense to anyone. It's just aliveness. Sorry.
And even if there would be some kind of understanding, which is completely irrelevant. So, because for some people may understand some concepts or some words or whatsoever, and then there's just still the sense that you are someone, that you are in that body, but now with an understanding that there is no one. And that is not what is being suggested. The suggestion is there is already no one. So there's no one inside a body looking to whatsoever. There's just seeing apparently happening. And again, this sharing has nothing to do with an understanding. Because we're not talking about a shift in understanding or whatsoever.
And would you say that there's a conversation
Apparently.
between us or not? Or is this how would you call this?
Well, this is what's apparently happening. Sitting on a chair is apparently happening. There is no us that it's really happening between. There's an appearance of us, you could say. It's just normal. This is what seems to be happening. This isn't denying the appearance of this, but it's also not confirming it. It just seems to be going on, but there's no one here or there or anywhere that can actually say, yes, this is real. This conversation is happening right now. There's no one that could say that. That's a dream. This is intangibly, paradoxically, indescribably alive. And somehow, every system in this room, every body in the room knows this without knowing it. Just by there being a body there, there's something in the system that can't get its words onto this, but can not even feel it, but just something can be sensed of this indescribable, boundless aliveness.
Can you repeat the last sentence? I didn't get. No, just.
No chance. Yeah. Well, no, I'm just saying. Basically, I'm trying to say how this is a paradox, but that everyone. This is not about you knowing this or getting this, but something deeper, we could say, in the system remembers this. Like, I like the word remembering or recognition, because actually what we're talking about here is not something new. It's something old. And just use normal language. Everyone knows what we're talking about here. Everyone gets this energetically. But there can seem to be some sort of cloud over this energetic clarity. Like, the individual is the energy of doubt. Everyone in this room knows that this is it, because this is it. But the individual energy seems to come in and sort of cloud this with doubt, and then hence the seeking goes off on its journey to find and solve the problem of doubt. But doubt is not a problem to be solved, because doubt is illusory.
Is it everyone knows this because everyone is this?
Yeah, I was going to say that, but it's always a bit misleading. Because obviously there is no one. But if we wanted to go there with normal language, you could just say, it's like all there is boundless aliveness. And everyone remembers this because it's what you are, without there being a you. But that's why I don't say it, because it's very misleading, because then it's like, oh, it's my true nature and all this crap. There is no one, but that body there and whatever's functioning in the room is boundless aliveness. So boundless aliveness can recognise itself as boundless aliveness. The body, the room, the thoughts, the feelings, the talking. Yeah. It's all there is. It's all that's going on there is boundlessness.
Already.
Okay.
I like what Easy is saying, because it looks like for the individual or for the person or whatever you want to call it, that suddenly something will happen. It will happen to me. Something new will happen. And that's not the case. What we're talking about then is a loss. Nothing new comes in. There can be a loss of an apparent energy. And when that loss is apparently happening, it doesn't happen. So when that loss seems to take place, then it's very obvious for no one that this is it. And this is all there is. There's nothing else. So nothing new will arise. There's no new reality suddenly magically will appear. No. There just can be, in very normal, simple language, there can be a loss that seemed to be there in a human body, and it seems like it's no longer there. And it is seen it never was. That's the paradox. Because it's that dreamt reality that veils, so to speak, that this is it. There's no real veil, but it seems to veil that this is it.
Yeah, so I was just going to add quickly. It's not, like Nico says, it's actually not that it's not that there's someone who isn't finding this. It's that there is no one, and all there is this.
Yeah.
But when you feel like a person, it's like, I haven't found this yet. But that's not the problem. The problem isn't that you haven't found it. The problem is that there is no one, and there's nothing to find. And then it's like, holy fuck, this is it then.
So, I just would like to add is that seeking will never ever lead to a finding. So the only thing that may apparently happen for no reason is that seeking suddenly is no more. And when seeking suddenly is no more, then it becomes very obvious for no one that this is it, and this was it all along. But not because of an answer, or because something was found, or someone did come to a conclusion. No, just seeking is no more, and that's it. Or it continues, so to speak. It's that simple, really. It's that simple.
Yeah, it just come to me there, like sort of a bit. It just seems, yeah, like just all the time. It's just when you were talking about this is it.
The problem with that is that the individual seems to imagine what is meant by this is it. But imagination is always something else.
Yeah.
So you will never imagine this as it is. No, because imagination is something else. And that veils that this is it.
Yeah, is the only thing really, is the only personal thing that's happening in what's happening. The only personal, like everything's impersonal, but it's seemingly the only personal thing is that I exist.
Well, seemingly being the key word, yeah.
Yeah.
There
That's
is
the only-
nothing personal about what's happening.
There's nothing about this is personal.
There is no person
Yeah.
for it to be personal too.
But even personal as in coming from somewhere or some source or
No.
personal.
There is
Yeah.
no such thing as a personal energy. It does not exist. It's a dream. It's an illusion. It doesn't exist. Everything is real and unreal. This is real and unreal. The only thing that is exclusively not real is the personal energy. It simply does not exist and never happens. It's a dream.
Yeah, just when you were talking to Patrick there about, I can't remember just exactly what you were saying, but it just, like about, it seems so real and everything, but just when you speak about no source and boundlessness, just how that's something that seems so real, when just a word or something said, it can just energetically, like you can just feel the openness energetically. And it's kind of seen how it's just been veiled in a way, like it is just this, but just seems to be. Yeah, I can't really explain it.
Well, it's indescribable, but
Yeah.
it is this. It really is just this.
Yeah.
But this contracted energy seems to close, and it then doesn't feel like this is it. So you go looking for a feeling that this is it, or a recognition that this is it. But actually, the only apparent problem, is that there's an apparently contracted energy that's making it seem as if this is not it, and that there is someone in there having a life.
Yeah, and again, it did come to me then, just that only thing that's apparently veiling it is is personal.
Yes.
Yeah, like everything else is impersonal. Everything is impersonal.
Everything
but
is impersonal,
This, it's So really, when you think of it, well, in a way, it makes sense that you can't see.
Oh, of course.
It's
Yeah.
been obscured by this personal veil.
Yeah, because it's black and white then. It's a black and white. What we're talking about is black and white. The natural reality is impersonal. All there is impersonal. But when you feel like a person, of course you can't see that it's impersonal. Because the nature of feeling like a person is personal. So either you sit there and you feel like an individual, and this is not it, and I'm looking for freedom, or there's no sense of there being someone there, this is all there is, and there's no issue. But then there's no one in it to benefit from it. Like, if you feel like a person, you can't see that this is impersonal. Because that's just the nature of, that's logical in a way.
Yeah, is it a way like that the only thing that's bound and sort of seems bound to the person is the person? Everything else in a way is boundless.
Yeah.
So when the sense of the reality of the person sort of crumbles a wee bit, so that's the only thing that's not real. So it sort of opens the door to actual reality, actually what's happening. That makes sense.
The person is the experience of being bound and trying to be boundless. Being finite and trying to reach the infinite. Time bound, trying to reach the timeless. Space limited, trying to reach spacelessness. That is the individual. That is the life of the individual. I am bound and I want to be free. But it's not actually a real I that's doing that. It's a tightness in the body that's contracted and trying to explode constantly. But in trying to explode, it's binding itself tighter. So what this does is it just cuts through all processes and exposes that boundlessness and explosion and collapse is all there is. It's not going to happen because it's constantly happening.
Yeah, it's funny when you say that because it comes back just what I said there. It seemed for that sort of, when you were speaking earlier about no source and stuff, it seemed that the sense of, this personal sense of me, that's kind of more was sort of cut adrift. So there was just...
Yeah. Well, that's death.
Yeah, in a way it was just, it was that sort of, that you were being pushed off the edge, like you were, right, you're done with now. It was just like, shoot.
Yeah.
And then there was just...
Yeah, pretty much.
because you're actually being cut, in a way, it's like something, boundlessness is sort of, in a way...
Totally.
Yeah, it was kind of creating, like, it was like you were over here then and everything else was back. It was like, and they were cutting the cord that was holding you onto the thing. Yeah.
That's death. Yeah. That's what death is, energetically. Yeah.
Done. It's an energetic misconception, really, if you like, the whole sense that I am someone, but not in a mental way. It's a bodily misconception, energetically, that there is someone here. And out of that comes the idea that there is someone. I am here and all the rest is out there. That is what seems to apparently happen. Hello.
Yeah, but really it's just a contracted energy, actually. That's just a contracted energy. But with it, it seems to give rise to the feeling that I am real. But that's not a real person saying, I am real. That's just energy. There is no real individual behind the real individual.
Yeah, it's an energetic felt sense. I am an individual in here in the body.
Yeah, it's just energy. There's no real... Just because that sits there and says, I am a real person, doesn't mean there is a real person there. No. It's no one. That's why the whole thing's a joke in a way. Because at these meetings, they're just saying there is no one. And no one then sits there and says, well, I am someone, and I'm looking for this. It's like, well, no, there's no one there. Clearly there is no one there. Like, it's a joke. The whole thing's a joke. Like this is there's no one here, and it's looking at no one, no one, no one, no one, no one saying I am someone. It's like, fine, you're not, but fine.
Yeah. Well, in a way, is it like when for the person, if you think about it, like everything else somehow, like everything else is impersonal. Like how could everything else be impersonal, and then somehow to be this?
Yeah.
Then so everything else is impersonal, but somehow someone's bestowed person onto you. It's the only thing that's got this sense of person.
It just doesn't even make sense, really. It has to be all or nothing. It just has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah,
as you
it's a
say,
split.
because if there is no source and if there is no one behind this, who is choosing that this would die but that would stay alive? And that this would get the privilege of seeing that there's no one and being no one and enlightened and da-da-da-da. But that's still suffering as an individual. Who would choose that? Well, God, but exactly. But that would then be the answer or the thought, of which there is none.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be all or nothing.
Yeah.
Either we're all someone's or we're all no one. And you can guess which one it is, obviously. It doesn't matter. It could be that we're all someone, but in that way it is all or nothing.
Or that this is all personal.
It's either all personal or it's all impersonal.
Yeah.
But how could the sun rising be personal? It clearly isn't, but then I am personal. So that just doesn't make sense. But that separation and duality, it splits and divides everything up into bits and categories and da-da-da-da-da. Like, it's like when you'd sit there with, well, when I used to sit and listen to Andreas or whatever, you feel that he has something. But how could it be that he has something and I don't? Like, what kind of, like, cruel life is that? But that's how people live. They think that life is tough and they've got it and I haven't, and they're enlightened and I'm not. Like, the individual is constantly the inferior victim. That I am not there yet and he has it and I want what he has. Like, that's not unconditional love. And what we talk about is unconditional love. All there is no one and nothing apparently happening.
But it's like you say, somebody could come here for 20 years and keep saying that, but really the only compassionate thing to really say is that even when somebody's telling you I'm a person here, I'm seeking, I'm struggling, really the only answer is there is no one. There is no one there struggling.
Yeah.
Like, what else can you say unless it's right? Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a constant.
It's the only compassion there is, and it's frighteningly compassionate. It's pure compassion. Like, it's overwhelming unconditional love, because it's just saying, basically energetically, what this is saying is, everything is fine. You're fine, there's no problem, this is it, nothing's going to go wrong, nothing's going to go right, there's nowhere to get, you don't need to go anywhere, this is it.
Yeah.
It's as Tony would say, it's the beloved. It's unconditional love, what we talk about. It's not expecting anything of anyone. No one is sitting here saying that needs to do anything or even can do anything. And it doesn't even recognise you or your suffering or your story, or it's just pure love. And the person gets in its own way of what it's looking for. It is its own problem. But the apparent problem is you can't get rid of yourself. Even in killing yourself, you're not getting rid of yourself, because there is no one to get rid of. And the apparent problem isn't your presence, the apparent problem is your absence. That's already the case.
Yeah, it's probably like what you said, the person's screwed either way. Really.
Go on.
Well, it's just that, you're saying it can't get out of its own way. It's I've lost my train of thought there. It just came to me that
Yeah, it is though. It's a complete lose-lose because either it tries to get out of its own way.
yeah.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, if it gets out of its
yeah.
own way, it's gone anyway. So it's a lose-lose. The person doesn't. There's no gaining here for the person.
Exactly,
at
because
all.
if it feels it's in its own way, there's a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
And ultimately, if it gets out of its own way, it's dead.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
either you feel you're alive and life is a problem, I'm a problem, I'm not fulfilled, I'm not free, or there's freedom, there's fulfillment, there's a natural reality, but there's no one there, I'm dead.
Yeah. It's kind of like a chess game in that way. It's just like, right, go on, sort of make your move type of thing.
Oh, this is the ultimate, yeah. This is beyond checkmate.
Well, like the person's
There's not
kind
even a
of,
fucking chessboard.
Oh, well, what am I going to do now? Yes. All right. Okay.
Well, this is why it's a collapse. Energetically, this is a collapse and an explosion. But it's actually more of an implosion. Because the person energetically is going out, 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 seeking, seeking, seeking. And then the seeking can just gently, or radically, there's just nothing looking out anymore in every way. There's nothing looking for freedom, literally. There's nothing looking anymore. Like true freedom is the end of the need to be free. That is true freedom. Freedom isn't about freedom. It's about the end of the need for freedom.
But how can a person do that?
They can't. That's.
How can I end that? Okay, how can I?
Well, you can't. There is no one to end that.
It is hurt or it isn't.
To end what? What did you mean to end?
No, you said you said.
Oh, the end of the need to be free.
Freedom is the end of the need to be free.
Yeah. No one can end that, but it may just end.
Okay, it can just end by.
Apparently collapsing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but the person cannot do it.
No.
Okay.
The person cannot do anything.
Yeah, this is a frustrating thing.
Of course.
Here, just.
Yes. Welcomes the life. The life of the individual, yeah.
It's the chess game.
Yeah, it is.
How do I do that?
But you're not playing chess against anyone, so you never win. You are, as an individual, you're constantly playing chess with yourself.
Yeah.
So, and actually the thing is that you are your worst opponent. You are unbeatable. You will never beat yourself at this game, but the game may just die. And it may be recognised that there is no one playing. There's just what's happening. That's why the individual cannot escape the loop of itself, because you are the creator, the instigator, and the policer of your own reality. You will not let yourself die. You seek to die, but you also seek to survive. It's a complete and utter closed loop, and you are your own worst enemy in every way possible.
So that's the reason why you cannot give me an advice or kind of.
The reason I can't give you any advice is because there is no one there to give advice to. And there's nothing to say if there was. What would the advice be? This is it. There's no issue. Advice only arises if there's a problem it's addressing. This is the problem. This is how you feel. I'll give you some advice to feel better. But what we're saying here is there's no issue. So
There's no issue.
There is no issue. Life does not have an issue with anything. Life just is what appears to happen.
Yeah, but why does it for the person always appear like I have so many issues to deal with and to...
Well, this is a slightly different session, I think, that's coming into it now. I mean, that's... I don't think I'm quite qualified for this, Patrick. But, No, but that is how the individual lives. Life is an issue. I live with issues. They need to be solved.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this isn't saying that issues disappear. You know, the bills still have to be paid, the car has to get fixed, the plane tickets have to be booked. But there's just no energetic sense that I am doing that and they are my issues and that I have an issue with it. Life is issue-less.
But you also have to pay your bills and no?
Well, it just seems to happen.
Okay.
That's the miracle in many ways. Is it happens or it doesn't. But that's the fear for the person. Because if I'm not there, because the person feels that I am the instigator of my reality.
Yeah, what is the fear? The fear is to lose control?
Well, the fear is that if I'm not there, the bills won't get paid. Because I am the thing that makes that happen. As if I am God creating, you know, as if the sun wouldn't fucking rise if I wasn't alive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how the individual lives, though. It lives in this innocently arrogant reality that my existence is what makes shit happen. It's not. Stuff just happens without you.
So you never pay the bill. You never did.
And actually, you often say, don't you, that in a way, life seems to... There's more of like a... In a way, obviously, it's not that it's better, but when there's not this apparent issue maker getting in the way, life just seems to be more... There's just more... Well, it just seems to happen. There's no problem anymore. So, I don't... It's not that it happens more naturally or anything like that, but the body's just free to do whatever. There's not this sort of constant doubt and holding back and energetic restriction and problem. The bill gets paid or it doesn't get paid. There's no story about it.
So for you, it's not a problem? Or...
Well, there is no me to have a problem.
Okay.
It's not that I don't have problems, because that would be great. That's what I wanted. I wanted to get to this place where I had no problems. But when I was looking for it, I just died. It's not what I wanted, but it's what was longed for.
Yeah.
I didn't want this. I wanted to be alive without any issue. But that's impossible, because that's a complete juxtaposition. If you are alive, there is an issue.
And there's no escape from it.
From what?
For the person. Yeah, for the person to be alive and also or to live with no issues and no problems. It's not possible.
There's no escape, but there's death. But death is not an escape. Death is death.
And that means what?
It means, well, what does it mean? Well, it means the sense of there being someone there with an issue isn't there anymore, and is revealed that it never was. It's nothing new. It's something old. It's like a type of hypnosis. The dream of the individual is a kind of hypnosis by no one, for no one, that there is someone.
Is it like you when you dream at night? Is it like the no?
No, it's not like anything. I'm just sort of playing with words.
Okay.
It's misleading, I suppose, but it's not like a dream. It's just an apparent dream that seems to happen but never actually occurs. But it's not a dream that you wake up from. When the dream ends, no one wakes up. The dream just ends, and it's not replaced by anything. It's just this, and it's like, oh, well. express. Well,
The end of
it's
the
just
dream is
this.
just the end of the dream.
Yeah.
That there was someone.
No one then wakes up from the dream. The dream ends. Like Andreas often says, this is about going to sleep. It's deep sleep. This isn't about waking up and you wake up. It's about you dying. So it's more like going to sleep than waking up.
So you are in a state of deep sleep?
No, I'm not in a state.
No,
There is no one.
Okay.
This is deep sleep, you could say. This is deep sleep.
This whole setting. Or
No, this.
Oh,
What seems to be happening is deep sleep, or death, or this, or life, or energy, whatever. I mean, you can't name this. Sitting in a room in Berlin cannot be named. It can't be known. It's just this. How could we contain this? It's boundless. What do you even call it? Like, it's wordless, nameless reality apparently happening. And there's something that can seem to go on in the room energetically that's beyond the discussion. There's an energy that goes on here that's palpable, really, in the body or just in the system. Not for anyone, but this doesn't meet you. It doesn't see
doesn't
you.
meet me?
No, it doesn't see you. So it doesn't address anyone there. And there can be a real palpable aliveness that can be sensed for some bodies, you could say, in the meetings, where all seeking collapses, all issues dissolve, and there is just the radical, direct immediacy of what's happening. This. So it's energetic, what we share is energetic. It's not to do with what we actually talk about. There's something deeper that seems to occur that some people can really feel in the meetings, and then they seem to leave the meetings and it's back into the story of me. So then they go to the next meeting to get the next fix of aliveness, which is fine, but it may just be that life just kills them along the way. Life is actually not about life. Life is about death. This is death.
That's hopeful.
Well, it's not, yeah. Well, let's not.
Okay.
It's not hopeful. It's hopeless, Nico. don't, yeah. We want to keep the numbers down here, not increase them, you know.
Yeah, well, when you say that about the energy, this like that issues, like it's the issue of being a person, the personal issue, this energetic problem.
Mm-hmm.
You might still have a sore toe, or you're thinking about something else. There are issues, but this personal issue of a person, that can sort of, is it?
Well, the issue is not. The issue is not these things. The issue is not life. The issue is not the personal issue. The issue is not that there is a personal issue. The issue is you. You are the issue. The individual is the problem.
Full stop.
Full stop. There's no discussion around it. The person is the issue. With a disclaimer that it's an illusion.
And the only problem.
The only apparent problem is
in
the person.
In everything.
Yes, of course, because this is a problemless reality. What is appearing right now is problemlessness.
Yeah.
This chair is problemlessness, appearing as this. Nothing appearing as everything. The only thing that projects an issue onto it is the individual. But that's heard as it's heard, because I listened to Andreas all the time, until suddenly it seemed to be recognised that who he was talking about was me. It was not the me, or like the person, or the individual, or the ego. He was talking about my life in a very personal, intimate and direct way. Everything that I was doing was the issue. I was the issue. And that's a bit like you're sort of caught out in a way. It's like humbling death. The individual's taken off its pedestal of knowing of being, of seeing, of seeking.
Is it in a way like I was going to say, is it in a way like the illusion, this sort of illusion to be me kind of goes, fuck, he's actually directly attacking me there.
Totally, completely.
Jesus.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
This is a personal attack.
Yeah.
His message is a personal attack. And it's like, that's why it can be so confronting. It was so confronting for me, because I realised that I was the only me that existed. I was projecting me's onto everyone else.
Yes.
There was no one anywhere else. I was the only me that was creating a me. And of course that never happened. But at the time, this was a realisation that seemed to feel that way for me. Like, because when you sit on the meetings, you think, oh, you know, there's all these other me's, and we're all the me's, and they're the no me's. It's bullshit. It's like a game of, like, I don't know. Like,
are you there or not there?
do you know
are you
what
me
I
or
mean,
not
though?
me?
Like, we're all the seekers, they're the ones that are speaking. They've lost the me, I've got the me. And then it's like, oh shit, actually, there's no one in this room, including here. There's no here and there, there's no us and them, there's no me and you.
You can play volleyball. The me's, no me's.
I think the me's would win, probably. There's a lot more of them.
And the more stubborn, the more
It's
persistent.
like a zombie apocalypse, yeah. Let the me's win, I don't fucking care. Oh yeah, the me always loses, I forgot about that. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have this realization. Like, I think when I used to do yoga, my yoga teacher said this to me, like, that we're always getting in our own way. Like, and it's an expression people use, like, and I always had this sense, but it wasn't ever energetically real until then I went away, I was on my own, no distractions, seemingly no issues, no triggers, so to speak, and there was still a fucking massive problem going on. So I realised, like, that was very confronting, because it's like, if I can't just sit in a room on my own, away from everyone, with it's a bit like sitting in a cave kind of thing. You get to the cave, you sit down, finally, and it's like, Jesus Christ, nothing's changed, because I am the problem, and you can't outrun yourself. And that's when people can collapse into, like, the hopelessness a little bit, because you're just sat there.
You
like,
don't say.
Yeah, well, you can't escape yourself. But this is actually the freedom. You can't escape yourself. It's like, oh, but actually, you can't escape yourself because there is no one there to escape, trying to escape. That's why your attempts to escape are futile, because there's no one. It's not because you're failing.
Yeah, and actually that's what you just said there is sort of meant in a way literally.
Totally, yeah. Yeah.
Rather not like when you say stuff that can't be understood, but that's actually meant literally.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten what you said now, I didn't, I get what you mean, yeah.
Well, I said that you can't outrun the reason you can't outrun yourself is not because you're failing to outrun yourself, it's because there is no one to outrun.
Yeah,
you've got the reason wrong.
Yeah, and by trying to outrun yourself, you're reinforcing the sense that you are someone that you're trying to get away from.
Exactly. So these meetings just illuminate another possibility, which is that actually the reason is that you're not running far. The reason isn't that you're not running fast enough. The reason is that there's no one chasing you.
Yeah, is that the same dynamic with seeking? Yeah, so you're seeking for something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same sort of...
Exactly, it's not that you're not finding it, it's that it doesn't exist.
Yeah, and you're trying to escape something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And you're trying to run away for something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And the running away is keeping in place the thing that you're trying to run away from.
Yeah.
And the seeking's reinforcing the thing that you're seeking that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these meetings just bring in another angle, in a way, energetically. Because the whole world is perpetuating the sense and feeding the sense that actually there is something to find, you just haven't found it yet. and you need to try harder, or you need to do better, or try this, or work this out, or be this. But these meetings just bring in another possibility, which is the only possibility and the only reality, that actually the reason you haven't found anything yet is because there is nothing to find.
It's kind of like when you say that, just when we're done, it's just like it's kind of like a pause button. It sort of pauses the. Do you know what I mean? The sort of, it's just like a pause on the seeking and the sort of. I can't explain it somehow. It's like
Well, energetically, I think Andreas used to say it was like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Energetically, this message is slapping you in the face constantly. It can be like, yeah.
Go again now, Patrick. Go on.
Sorry, Patrick. Poor boy's traumatised.
You sucked the life out of the man.
Well, it's for the best, Patrick.
You'll thank me someday.
It's pure compassion. It's pure compassion. Now he's gone, we can.
I was going to say, you want to
We can get quickly. Whilst he's gone, quick. I'll tell you what it's all really about.
Is it only for the me a nothing, or is it a nothing at all?
What do you mean?
This what you speak about. It is not is it only in relation to the me, seemingly a nothing, or is it a nothing in itself?
Well, this is nothing.
This is nothing.
This is nothing. Being this. This is what nothing looks like. This is nothing. Wool is nothing, being a wool. There's nothing in it. There's nothing before it. There's nothing as it. There's nothing after it. But this is nothing appearing as this. And it's real and unreal. But the only thing that actually never happens at all is the individual. So the individual is not even no thing appearing as an individual. There just is no individual. Sorry. He's back.
Just someone back clumsy.
Oneness appears as closeness.
So
Yeah.
the individual is less than this noise somehow. This noise is appearing, but
The noise that appears to happen,
appears that
there is no individual.
Yeah.
The individual does not appear to happen. There just isn't one. Because that's the sort of coy way it tries to get round this, or rationally tries to understand this, is that, okay, well, if there's just what appears to happen then, and there's just nothing being everything, then this sense of me is also just nothing being everything. And it is, but only insofar as the body that sits there says there's a sense of me. Those words, those thoughts, those feelings, that body is nothing appearing as that. But there is no real sense of me, and there is no real me doing that. The individual is the only thing that is not real. There is not one. There is no such thing. It's a dreamt unicorn kind of thing. It's a dream. There isn't one. And yet it's something that seems to feel very real in the body when it seems to be running, apparently. And the surprise, it's like magic. It's like a magic show. It's amazing, actually, in a way, because when the sense of being someone dies, it's simply revealed to no one that that was an illusion. There never was anyone. Like, for this body, there seemed to just be a recognition, and this back on the whole life, looking back on the whole life of the body, it was very clear I was never there. There never was anyone. It was crystal clear. It was not a change from being me to no me. It was a revelation that there was never a me.
That there is only the body is only the spirit
Functioning.
No, in the end, you see that this body never was real because now he's away, it's gone now.
Do you mean when the body dies?
Yeah, when the body dies.
Yeah, well, when the body dies, I mean, who knows what will happen? No one, because nothing actually happens. It's a mystery. So I can't sit here and say, well, nothing will happen. But so the story goes, is that if you feel like an individual, when the apparent body dies, this apparently contracted energy just collapses. And the sense of being you collapses. So for most apparent individuals, it seems to be revealed at death that I never had a life.
It's too late.
But you don't have to wait until then to see this. Because this is death already. Death is not when the physical body dies. That's just an appearance of the end of a functioning organism. Death is happening to you. Well, not to you. But death is happening, apparently happening, all the time. This is death. You're staring at death. And if that's energetically woken up to, that's fucking terrifying. It can be. Because actually this projection of death into the future is what's keeping you safe. And what's keeping you from having to confront the end right now. This is death, right now. This is your death, right now. Life is constantly screaming at you to die. Like, for me, it was quite sad in a way. There was sadness with it because it was actually, Jesus, like this was seen and it was like, I'm actually not going to live until I'm older. I'm not going to live anymore. I'm not going to get older. I always thought I was going to die when I was elderly because that's just how you see death. And suddenly death was in the room with me then. It was like, Jesus, this was not what I signed up for. Like, we're not joking, it is death. But the individual sort of still feels, no, it's death, but it's not death. No, it is death.
For the individual.
In that way. And then, of course, what's ironically revealed is that death is actually the revelation that there is no death. But it's the end of you feeling that you are living and that you have a life, which was only ever an illusion anyway. But for the thing that feels it's very real now, it's then, as much as you feel real sitting in this room, is as much as the death then feels real.
Okay.
Because as much as you...
For me,
exactly.
It becomes reality, a big reality.
Because the degree to which you feel alive is the same opposite and proportion degree to which you feel you will die. So for me, there seemed to be everything seemed to be quite strong and extreme and radical and energetically intense. So this death seemed very confronting and terrifying in a way. Whereas for others, they just seemed to sort of be a bit more like, oh, whatever kind of thing. Obviously, energetically, it's always confronting, but really, these meetings are about death. What we're talking about is death. And I was always fascinated by death. I think people are fascinated by death, but there's also like a, sort of taboo and kind of like energetically kind of We don't go there,
Go the distance.
yeah, pushing it away, but without necessarily realizing it, coming to these meetings, you are directly putting yourself in the vulnerable position of dying today, right now. Like, you're walking into your death. That's how it can feel for the individual. And if the person really realizes what these meetings are about, it's not, may not, well, who knows how it would respond, but...
Somehow the death is the price you have to pay for this...
Freedom in a way, yes.
Like this life,
Yes.
that for yourself, that you, this belief that you have a life for yourself, you pay with the death.
In a sense, because what the individual longs most for is freedom. Full-on freedom from everything and anyone.
What it fears the most as well.
Exactly. And yet what apparently has to happen for that freedom to be revealed is what it most desperately does not want to lose. Yeah. So this is where you're faced. This is the dilemma for the individual. I want to be free, but I want to have a life, and you can't have both. Trust me, you can't. Like I tried it. Everyone tries it, and it's never worked, and it never will work. Freedom and my life do not coexist. As long as I feel I have a life, there cannot be freedom. And if there is freedom, I don't have a life.
Because of that, you can't as individual, you can't have freedom.
No.
Or the only
Because freedom is freedom from being an individual. It's not freedom for an individual. Freedom is the absence of the person. That's just, yeah, go on.
Yeah, but you try to get because you think a little freedom.
This is not a little freedom we talk about.
For myself.
Well, so you're saying you just take a little bit. You don't have to have it all. Just a little bit, and I'll be okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. I know we joke, but actually, in a way, though, it's never enough.
Yeah.
If I gave you a little bit of freedom today, you'd want more. It's insatiable. So what we're talking about is boundless freedom. And because it's boundless, you actually can't have more of it or less of it.
It's all or nothing then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it actually, what's longed for is not a little bit of freedom. What's longed for is full-on, boundless freedom itself.
You want all.
Well, yes. What's longed for actually is all of it. But actually, see, you don't want to be free. The person doesn't want to be free. The person wants to stay trapped with the hope of finding freedom for itself. It doesn't want to be told that this is freedom, because this is not for me. Like, actually, this is freedom already, this is it, is a massive issue for the individual. Which is why it then creates all the stuff. No, it's not this. It's coming tomorrow. It's coming once I've done that. I just need to do this, or I still feel like a me. Because it does not want to see that this is freedom. Because that will be the end of its life. Yeah. Well.
It's like this.
Huh?
Seems to be like this.
Yes. So it seems to be, yes. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, until maybe it's not. Anyone else want to go?
Don't give up now.
Yeah, it's just a sense like for this sense of me, it's just like a holding position. It's just I don't know, like it's just a sort of a constant negotiation.
It just doesn't want. Or it just doesn't want finding freedom.
Yeah.
Because seeing that this is all there is, seeing that this is the absolute freedom that is being talked about, means it's the end of you. So it's basically what the individual wants. When I die, I want to be there. So I want to be on my own funeral.
Like what you're saying, just in a way about that, like for the individual, this sense of putting death out till the end of the actual physical body. Yeah. Like that is just, like that just is, as in a way, a kind of a practical sort of a safety buffer.
Totally. Oh, of course.
Because
Yeah, of course,
yeah,
because-
I'm talking. Nico can answer. Go on. No, I didn't mean to point at you. I was kind of asking the question on you, but yeah. So it's just like a safety net, really, in a way. Yeah.
It's an avoidance.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like death's out there now. So this death that's facing me here now in the room.
If I never die now, I will
Yeah.
die next week.
Yeah.
I will die next month, or I will die next year. So
Yeah.
it's a constant avoidance.
So it's like an energetic. It's like taking a piece of yourself and putting it out in the distance, like energetically putting yourself in like a wee vault, so that this death here can't kill you. So it's energetically, I'm energetically going to die there, so this can't threaten me now in a way, because I already have myself sort of safe up there.
Yeah, and that's a good way to put it in a way, because that's exactly how it felt like for me when this became apparent that what we were talking about was death. It was like this thing I had placed in the future and constantly felt myself to be moving towards in a subconscious, energetic way, because it's not a conscious thing. No one really walks around like, I am born, I'm going to die. It's just an energetic thing. And suddenly that thing that I had projected into the future was staring me in the face. It was in the room with me. And that was both like exhilarating and terrifying at the same time.
Well, in a way, it's like what I said to you before, what Tobias said. I can't remember who he said it to. It's so confrontational.
Yeah.
It's just like being told. It probably can seem in a way, when it is very confrontational, like that somebody just walked up, tapped on your shoulder and said, "We're going outside, you're going to be shot."
Totally, completely.
Because really,
Yeah.
it can seem like when somebody's actually probably said, like really, if you walked up to someone and said, "Look, step outside, you're going to be shot," it's the same as energetically the person dying.
Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Yeah,
In
exactly
a way, it's the same feeling that would probably, it's the same
confrontation.
energetically, same confrontation.
It's the same
Right, okay,
confrontation. Yeah. And yet here, at least, it was just sitting on the couch, looking at the table or whatever it was. That was someone coming to say, "You're going to die now. Come outside. I'm going to shoot you." That's energetically how real this sense of me is how real this death feels. This energy shoots you. It kills you. We're not joking around in that way. Like, this is death for the person. And the body just seems to apparently go on functioning.
Yeah, and when that death happens, is it ultimate, or can you come back from that death?
Well, if there is a way to come back, will you let me know? Because, no. No, it's ultimate, yeah. Yeah. It's all or nothing in that way. It's either you feel like you're alive. Yeah. I know what you're saying, and really my impression is because there can seem to be glimpses, right?
Yeah, it's just what I wanted to.
Yeah.
The word I wanted to use.
Yeah. So there can seem lots of people seem to have these where there's the sense of me drops or dies really in that so-called moment or whatever. Just use normal language, but then it seems to come back. But really, death is the recognition that there is no one energetically in the body. So when there's these glimpses and there's these kind of toing and froing and in and out, there's a real sense that there's a me, and then there's a me that falls away, and that I come back.
Okay, so it's like a sense of struggle between the death and the me.
Yeah, yeah. Between being alive and not being alive. And
but you don't know the outcome.
What do you mean by that?
You don't know which way it's going to go. You know, whether death will happen or whether the me will reinstate itself.
Exactly. There's kind of this foot in both worlds. There's two things going on. Whereas what we're talking about is the recognition energetically that there are no worlds. Like, I think Jim, actually, this kind of made me realise this a little bit. When Jim said, really, because I think someone asked him, when does the bottom fall out? Which is a bit like this. And Jim said the bottom falls out because a lot of people talk about like the bottom fell out and they have this experience of the bottom falling out. But Jim said the bottom falls out when there's no one left feeling that there is a bottom. So the apparent sense of being someone or the apparent death is when there's no longer a sense that there is a me that died.
Okay, yeah.
It's not that me died.
Yeah, so you wouldn't know it anyway.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's too late to be dying now before we leave for tomorrow, is it?
Yeah, only 10 minutes left.
We'll just go with the silence.
It's not poke the bear
It's
anymore.
not to put you off your Indian.
Tomorrow, 3:05.
Tomorrow never comes.
What never comes?
Tomorrow never comes.
Oh, I thought you meant death.
Same thing. Death is tomorrow.
This is tomorrow.
This is tomorrow. This is death.
Yeah.
Tomorrow does never come though.
Mm.
Tomorrow.
Mm.
It never comes. There is no such thing as tomorrow, really.
Mm.
And yet the individual lives in the illusion and the hope of tomorrow. Tomorrow does not exist.
Mm.
There is no such thing as this, let alone tomorrow.
Mm.
But the individual lives in next. Tomorrow will be it. And that's how it keeps its life going. Tomorrow I will be there. Tomorrow this will be it. Tomorrow I will see this. If you don't see this now, you will never see this.
Just hold on there for a second. Yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask you something there. So the whole life and sustaining of this sense of being me is the projection into the future.
Yep. Yes. Me is the future.
Yeah, so the immediacy of this is death. So
Yeah.
it has to be sort of, it's like a part of it. It's like putting death in the future. It's me tomorrow. It's projecting.
Not a part of it, the whole of it.
It's the same dynamic in a way.
It is the dynamic.
Oh.
Me is the future. It has to live in the future. Otherwise, it's vulnerable to the immediacy of this. The way it lives and protects itself and stays alive is by living in the future or the past, but it's mainly the future. Next. Even if it's projecting into the past, it's actually next. That's how it skillfully protects itself from the immediacy of this. Because this does not have a future. This is just this.
Yeah, so in a way, like the sense of being me is like constantly being threatened, really, like with annihilation in a way. Yeah, it's constantly under threat, really.
Yep.
Like
Me is constantly on edge of its
Yeah.
own absence. because your own absence is already the case. So you're going to have to be constantly on guard to stop yourself from seeing that.
Yeah, in a way, like what you said about even sitting in the cave, it's like, oh, what now? Well,
Yeah.
it's just immediate, some projection.
Yeah.
Like, you just sitting down, get the fire lit, just you had your rice, and then it's like, oh shit.
Now what?
You have to get the cogs going again in a way. It's
Yeah.
sort of some out.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Me is a treadmill that never stops. It cannot see this because it's constantly living in the next, in the future. This is it.
Whereas this is immediate. This is the immediacy of very immediate. It's immediate. Yeah.
This is the cross.
Yeah.
Me lives in the horizontal timeline of me. Future, 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 future. And this message is the cross.
Yeah.
It kills time. It's this. There is no tomorrow. There's not even the next second, the next breath. There's nothing. There's just this. But me survives by projecting, creating a future. It doesn't actually project into a future. It creates a future that isn't there.
When you said earlier about like it's just this, the immediacy of this, somehow when you say it's not, there's no source from it, is that sort of illuminating the immediacy of it as well?
It all is trying to illuminate the immediacy of
Because
it.
it somehow feels more immediate when you say
Yeah.
there's no source. It somehow sort of just, it seems more immediate then, because there's nothing behind it,
Yeah.
nothing in front of it.
Yeah.
It's not coming from anywhere. It's not going, like literally, it's just like the stillness, immediacy, boom.
Yeah. Yeah, somehow if there is no source, this is the source then.
Yeah, it's the source of itself.
Exactly.
Immediacy,
Yeah.
immediately just
This.
itself.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because really saying there's no source is like saying there's no before,
Yeah.
really. This is timelessly this. It's everything. This is not in a container of something bigger. Or within something. This is not within something. This is everything.
Yeah, because when you say there's no source, in a way, actually what's happening energetically, it's cutting time.
Yeah.
It's slicing through time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not even that this, it's just everything's just, time's just annihilated then.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Completely. Which is the same thing as saying you are annihilated. Because you are time.
Yeah.
You are the creator of time.
Yeah. It's like when you said that, but it's not coming from anywhere. It just seemed to slice through in a way. It cut off the sense of a continuation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what all these meetings are doing. Because when you feel like an individual, I'm sitting here and there's a ticking along.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. There's a happening. Da, 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 da. There's just a ticking. And this just kills that. And then there's just what happens. Full on aliveness, without time, without a sense of even sitting here. Like time is me's biggest accomplice, basically. Me uses time, or me is time, to perpetuate and protect its own life. Without time, I am nothing. And without me, there is no time. 4 minutes left, technically. We're going to push it till the very end.
You have to sit this one out, guys. Until the bitter end. No escape.
Okay, then I have a question.
But you have to make it quick then, because
Yeah, I make it. When the me is time, then my question: what is space? What would you see? Is this an appearance of this?
Well, there is no space either.
Either.
Me is also space.
Oh,
Me is space, me is time, me is birth, me is death.
okay.
All of which are illusory.
Then we have finished.
Yes, well, there you go. Yes, yeah, speak for yourself first. Yeah, without space and without time, what am I? Me is nothing. I have nothing without my space, without my time.
But I've always the idea space is connected with body,
Yes, yeah.
with seeing.
Yeah. It infiltrates everything. That in that feeling that I am here, it overlays onto everything. It projects itself. There is just seeing, untarnished by time and space, thinking, feeling, looking, talking. None of these things require or have a me in them or on them. But me is like some overlay, some artificial overlay that adds itself to everything. Suddenly I am seeing, I am thinking, I am talking.
Then I am in space, I have time.
I am in the body.
To go somewhere. Or
Yes.
I need time.
Time is an
to get
appearance.
somewhere.
Time is an appearance, so it's real and unreal. So we'll say we're going out for dinner later, that we're going to speak again tomorrow. But what we're talking about is there's no lived sense of a real individual travelling through time. There's no lived sense of an individual having had a this morning and a will have tonight or tomorrow. But tonight and tomorrow seem to happen, just as this seems to happen. There's just no real sense of it going anywhere in time on some sort of path or process. Just as space, really, we're saying there is no one in the body. There is no one.
There's no location.
No location.
No
So
time.
there's then also no one outside the body, sort of floating in awareness or some sort of, glorified concept.
Well, there's nothing there objectifying out there.
There's no in and out. There is no in and out. So when in here collapses, out there also collapses. It's not that in here collapses and then all that remains is out there.
Yeah.
It's just that all there then is this, within and in and out. There's no real sense that thoughts happen within and meetings happen without. There's just thoughts, meetings, talking, people, body, character, all directly immediate and undivided, with no in and out, with no space in between, with no distance. The end of space is the end of distance. No real distance between you and I, or between this. It's all just boundless aliveness, oneness apparently happening, undivided, whole and complete.
It's kind of like a fullness, really. It's just like
Oh, yeah.
fullness.
Empty
Like
fullness
it's full. It's,
of itself.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
a full. It's like I was going to say like a pregnant fullness, just like a
Oh yeah,
fullness.
completely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's indescribably full. That's the love. That's the unconditional love. It's full, completely full of itself. Saturated with itself. Saturated of itself.
Well, the fullness is non-separation, really. It's
Yes.
just full.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's completely and utterly empty. For it to be ultimately full, it has to be ultimately empty. There's nothing missing. It's as full as it can be already. Yeah, well, I think that's probably enough for today. So, yeah. Thanks, guys. And, yeah, we're going out for curry. I don't know what time. 7, is it?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to come, you're more than welcome. We've booked a
Indian.
big group. An Indian, curry, yeah, Indian.
Well,
Indian cuisine.
yes.
Yeah. Hand over to Doris, I guess you know the details. So.
Yeah, you can just come with. We go all together. It's not far away.
Yeah, we'll go straight from here, I think. So.
10 minutes.
All right.
Well, thanks to you.
Thanks.
Sorry?
Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
It's tomorrow. It's at 1 o'clock.
Thanks. Nick.
Yes,
It is?
tomorrow it's at 1 o'clock.
Oh, 1 o'clock. Okay.
1 till 5 tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yay!